I know there are people in the filmmaking community who absolutely despise people making fan films, i.e. films based on pre-existing IPs, and say things like they should just come up with new ideas. Well, as an aspiring filmmaker who has mostly done films based on existing IPs up until this point, I thought I'd share some of my thoughts on it and the problem with a lot of fan films. I firmly believe that writing fanfiction can be a great way to grow your writing skills and gain more experience before you're ready to move on to the big leagues and publish your own work. And filmmaking is no different. You can really develop your skills and craft by making films based on existing characters. But the main issue I have is that people either often A, spend way too much money on it, or B, take their writing too seriously. And I'm here to talk about these issues today. Keep in mind, I am a complete novice at fan films and filmmaking in general, only having a few projects under my belt. But I just want to share my experience and my critiques to fan films I have seen, including my own. So here's the first issue: people spending too much money on it. Back in 2014, a Power Rangers fan film titled MMPR was in development with the whopping budget of over $40,000, raised from Kickstarter. First off, I don't support Kickstarters for fan films in the first place, which I will talk about later, but even still, $40,000 is way too much money, and way too much risk in the event that Saban wanted to take it down. To put a painfully long story short, the film was never completed for unknown reasons, but my point is that you can make something really enjoyable and really fun on a low budget. And this is really my main advice to all people wanting to make fan films. Refuse to spend any extra money or resources, and you'll be much happier. If you want a big choreographed fight scene in your Batman fan film, but you've never made a movie before, then just don't do the big fight scene and focus your attention on story and characters. Remember, a good story always comes before fancy action sequences and spectacle. This is actually a problem I have with mega budget studio films, but that is a video for another day. So you want to make a Superman fan film, but can't afford a convincing costume? In that case, just make a cheap homemade costume and write it into the plot by saying, maybe Clark is starting out as Superman, or maybe he just lost his old costume and had to make a new one from scratch. All I'm saying is that it can be done without the audience asking too much questions. Here's an example. My third film was titled Power, which was heavily inspired by Power Rangers. The original script I wrote was 100 pages and featured fancy costumes, special effects, and a giant monster fight. While I suppose I could have done all of that, I decided that it would be a lot easier and more fun just to make a high school comedy about teenage hardships and friendship, with a little bit of bigger superhero plot woven throughout. While the film wasn't great by any means, it was a lot better than what it would have been if I stuck with my original grander idea, mostly because it's not trying to be something it can't, it's just trying to be what it can be. And that leads me to another issue I have. These films take themselves too seriously. This actually could be applied to any amateur film, but I think it goes without saying that watching a cheap looking movie that's trying to be super dark and serious is a lot more tedious than watching a cheap looking movie that's fully aware of its own silliness and embraces how cheesy it is. There are of course exceptions to this, as some lower budget films can be dark and serious and still be great, but more often than not I find it easier to make a cheap comedy than a cheap drama. Once again, bringing up the now dead MMPR fan film again. The trailer they released looked great technically, but it just didn't have the fun and enjoyability that the source material is known for. And I could apply this to so many other fan films, and frankly, films in general. So yeah, in short, my advice is lighten up. Quit taking yourself so seriously. Just make something fun and enjoyable. It's not going to be a masterpiece, and it doesn't need to be. Finally, I want to talk about crowdfunding. I just stay away from it, especially if it's causing you stress. Like I said, you don't need thousands of dollars to make a good film, and also you probably don't want to be in debt to other people and owe them a product, assuming they do decide to donate to your project. So those are my tips for making a good, enjoyable fan film on a low budget. And I just want to point out that I'm not trying to throw shade at people like Bat in the Sun or anyone like that, but I do want to say that you should mostly focus on making the film fun and enjoyable without worrying too much about budget, and make it something you can make and something that you can enjoy. So that's all I have for now. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe for more film and pop culture content. Goodbye.